Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to look at Collegeville Halloween costumes. Happy Halloween! Okay, let's see here. Hey, here's a Collegeville costume right here. There you go. A Collegeville Halloween costume. So this Frankenstein, that's probably the most iconic of all Collegeville costumes. If there's one costume, one mask that is the symbol, the icon, the emblem of Collegeville, it's this Frankenstein. That design has a life of its own beyond Collegeville. When people think of old school Halloween costumes, this is one of the designs they think of. They may not know that it's Collegeville, but they think of this design. It's in a beautiful box. Now, we're going to open several boxes, but this is not one of them. If the box is all taped up like that, I'm not struggling with that to open it. There. I mean, it looks, as far as I'm concerned, it looks better like this. I think box Halloween costumes look best in the box. But, that's me. I'm a mint-in-box kind of guy. Collegeville costumes. It doesn't say Collegeville Flag Company on this one. Some of them do. Let's see. No, it just says Halloween costume by Collegeville. And it's actually called Frankenstein, not a monster or something generic. And a couple seasons ago, I had a giant version of this mask behind me, a giant vacuform replica of this mask hanging behind me. So look at some episodes from a couple years ago, Halloween season episodes, and you'll see that gigantic blown up replica of that mask hanging behind me. Well, we're going to look at some other Collegeville costumes. We've covered Collegeville before on this show, so I'm not going to get deep into history, but let's just give you the real brief rundown. Collegeville was founded by dentist Samuel D. Cornish. He started a flag company, not costumes, but he wanted to make flags. He started a flag company in 1909. It was called Collegeville Manufacturing Company in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. In 1914, it changed its name to Collegeville Flag Company. And some of these costumes say Collegeville Flag Company on the box. During the 1920s, it expanded into other kinds of textile goods, including Halloween costumes. And over the 50s, 60s, 70s, it blew up into one of the biggest Halloween costume manufacturers in the business. There were three big ones: Ben Cooper, Collegeville, Halco. There were other companies, but those were the big three. And Ben Cooper was its rival. Ben Cooper is today considered the king of Halloween. Over the years, I don't know if Ben Cooper was always on top as far as sales or popularity. I suspect that maybe it seesawed a bit over time. But over the long arc of Halloween history, Ben Cooper has emerged as the premier Halloween company, the premier Halloween costume manufacturer. And Collegeville is thought of as second place. And Halco is a distant third. Ben Cooper always seemed to get the mainstream licenses, the really popular ones like Star Wars. And then Collegeville got oddball licenses, weird. Whatever licenses were left over that Ben Cooper didn't want, Collegeville scooped up. And on this show, you've seen the Incredible Melting Man licensed movie costume. I don't know what episode that is, but look at Halloween episodes from seasons past, and you'll find the Incredible Melting Man in one of those. And I thought about showing him in this one, but I want to keep this episode old school traditional Halloween, so you won't see the Melting Man this time. But they had other weird licenses like the movie Grizzly and Nightwing, The Deep, Disney's Dragon Slayer, the Super Joe action figure line, Sucker Man, really weird stuff like that. And I love those weird licensed costumes. I wish I had more of those, particularly Grizzly. I really want the Collegeville licensed movie Grizzly costume. That's high up there on my list of wants. But I would love to have. I've had the opportunity to buy Nightwing and didn't take it. But I'd like to have that. I'd like to have certainly the Deep. I've got Jaws, which is one of the few big licenses Collegeville got. They got Jaws. They also got Kiss, the rock band Kiss. So once in a while, they would sort of luck into a big license. Usually it's one that wasn't expected to be a big license. But I don't need to go over my want list here. There's a lot of mostly 70s and early 80s Collegeville costumes, licensed ones I'd like to have. I don't think there's any licensed costumes among this assortment I'm going to show you. I think these are all generic. But my favorite Collegeville costumes are the licensed ones. The weird, oddball licensed ones. In 1996, Collegeville went out of business. It lasted longer than Ben Cooper, but finally it did go out of business. Before we start showing costumes, let's look at a couple catalogs. So here's a mailer. Well, I mean, it's an envelope for Collegeville. Collegeville Halloween Costumes Catalog. I can't really see the date on that stamp, but I'm sure while I'm editing this, I can zoom in and see it, and you can see it right now. Let's see what's in here. Well, here's a nice bit of Collegeville letterhead with some nice Halloween orange. And you know, I've got a Collegeville display sign. I didn't think to bring it down here. I should have had it right there, but I didn't think of that. It's a store display. It's not the vacuum form one with the pumpkin face. I wish I had that. I don't have it. It's a cardboard one. Okay, here's it's 1964. Here's a Collegeville Halloween costume. It's very plain looking, very businessy, very corporate. I thought it'd look a little more fun than that. Let's see what we got in here. Anything good? I hope so. More sales, more profits through better point of purchase display. It's talking about Casper, the friendly ghost. It's really pumping up Casper big time. The first two pages are all just Casper, Casper, Casper. You're going to have big sales with Casper. You're going to knock it out of the park with Casper. Okay, so this is a style of illustration. They're really charming, actually. They're not photos, they're illustrations. But they're adorable little illustrations. They're not hasty. Like, we saw that Ben Cooper catalog that was just kind of like sketches, line art. These are painted. These are nice. And I don't want this to be a 3-hour episode, so we're not going to go over the whole thing, but there are costumes in here that we're going to see later, particularly here. This is a good example on this page. I wish I could just take the time to read everything on these pages. I mean, maybe I should have done like a MIB episode where he does the Vampirella magazines and had the camera panning over the page up close. Let's see here. He hasn't done one of those Vampirellas in a long time. It's been a few months. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some costumes we're going to look at. Let's see, is there like a big money shot that I want you to see? Something really unusual. Wow, there's a lot of interesting characters. Oh, there's some of the boxed costumes. Lots of cool stuff. So these are boxed wigs. And if you look for Collegeville on eBay, you're going to see these wigs for sale. And here's how some of the masks that don't have costumes, how they're sold in these counter boxes. More images of how these masks could have been sold back in the day. And that's the kind of sign I have. Like, you see those signs at the top of those fixtures? That's what I've got. One of those. Anything else in here? No. Okay. Well, that was cool. That's 1964. And I do have one more catalog to show you. This is a later catalog. That's a later catalog. Does it say the 1978? 1978. Still has Casper. They're still selling Casper. There's all kinds of cool things in here. Well, let's crack it open. Now they're showing the actual, oh gosh, I'm going to rip this to pieces. Now they're showing the actual costumes. I think, yeah, these are photos. These are not illustrations. These are photos. And they're showing what the costumes look like, what the box looks like. Spooky Spooks. So we looked at those in an early episode. We covered the Spooky Spooks. Did we see all of them? I don't know. I guess we did. We saw the Mummy because I had a production sketch, you know, like from the design process on that Mummy. Let's see. Oh, here's that Frankenstein, an earlier example than the one I just showed you. But you can see he's been part of the lineup for a long time. Oh, let's see. Don't know if Kiss is in this one. Looney Tunes. I'm skipping through it because we have so many costumes to get to. Oh, this is neat. Well, first of all, that crazy costume, I like that. The one I wanted to show you was Welcome Back, Kotter and Flash Gordon. strange licenses. Here's speaking of Flash Gordon, I don't know why he's separated, but here's Ming the Merciless is over here. He's not on the same page with Flash. Yeah, I know I'm going through this kind of quick, so you're not getting a good look at it, but here's Grizzly Adams. There's Jaws. And eventually they'd have Jaws 2. I've got the Jaws costume. I don't have Jaws 2. That's another weird movie licensed Collegeville costume I'd like to own. Here's the page that that makes me drool a little bit. There's the deep, wacky choice for a costume. You can see some toy-based costumes. And there's the Melting Man, the Incredible Melting Man. I don't think they have Sucker Man. No, Sucker Man's not in this catalog. There's Muhammad Ali, Electric Company. Whole page of Electric Company. They didn't make the vegetable vampire. That's too bad. They should. I mean, you would think if they made anyone, they'd make him, but they didn't do that. Here's the Shadow. I know my friend Matt likes that. Yeah, we gotta move along here. Lots of masks, more wigs. Some rubber masks. Including a creature. And you might remember, was it last episode? No, it was one before that. I was wondering about a creature rubber mask. I had a couple of them. I was wondering if one of them might be Collegeville. Okay. Makeup kits. All right, well, we gotta move along. So that gives you a taste of from the 1960s to the 1970s, what kind of costumes Collegeville had to offer. Okay, how am I going to do this? Let's start with these. Now, I don't really know what era these are from. I can't look at these different boxes and say, okay, this is from 1964, and this is from 1972. I can't do that. I'm a little better at that with Ben Cooper. I can tell you different Ben Cooper boxes, and I can get pretty close to what era they are, but not Collegeville. So there is, I think it's just called Skeleton. Yeah, Skeleton. But I like this one because it's basically the Crimson Ghost. He's got a red hood. And I wish his costume inside was like a red cloak, but it's not. It's just a skeleton costume. And I put it in that bag for some reason. It didn't come like that. I don't remember why I put it in the bag. Was it falling apart? I don't know. Okay, let's see. Put you there for now. These, this is in no particular order. This is just however I stack these up. And I'll see if I have any observations to make along the way. This guy is called, what's he called? Captain Redbeard. Captain Redbeard. So he's a pirate. And I just thought he was cool. I could have so many costumes. I could just sit here for 3 hours looking at costumes, but we can't do that. So I just picked some that I thought looked unusual. Let's take a look inside. This is what Redbeard looks like inside. Now, I like his red hair. It kind of reminds me of some Topstone masks, both rubber and plastic, that have hair like this. You'll find like the Lagoon Monster and the Shock Monster, different versions of those masks have red hair like this or blue hair. And this hair is it's kind of like cotton candy. It's like a pull-apart kind of a material. You have to, right now it's unused, it's very uniform. But if you see it on an old mask, it's very stringy. Once you start wearing it, you're actually supposed to pull it apart to shape it. Let's see if... it looks like he's never been out of this box, so I'm a little worried about taking him out. Once you take these things out, you never get them back in again. They never go flat back in again. So... yeah, and there's nothing interesting behind him. The costume isn't... there's nothing you can see of the costume. Does this say flag company? Oh, it's 19... it's got a date. 1965, this mask, this costume. 1965. It doesn't say flag company. Oh, yes, it does. There it is. So you can see the date, 1965. And there's the flag company, Collegeville flag. That's how it started, flag company. So if you're waiting for me to take these out and show you the costume, you'll be waiting a long time because I'm not doing that. The costumes are staying in these boxes. And this next one is an example of why I have that policy. This is the Weird Monster. That's his name, Weird Monster. And if you can look up in there, he's got brains, exposed brains. He's just bizarre. And the art on his costume is also bizarre. Now, he's really cool. I really like this thing. Where's his name? Weird Monster. Does it have the date? Well, we can't see it anyway. But I think he was in that 64 catalog, so he's at least that old. But okay, so this Weird Monster, that's one of my favorite ones. I really like him. And one of these sold on eBay for a considerable amount of money recently, this Halloween season. Now, some years ago, I took this mask and costume out of the box because I wanted to see the costume, wanted to see the artwork. I unfolded it. I admired the artwork. I folded it back. I paid attention to how I unfolded it. I folded it back the same way, pushed it flat, and the crotch just cracked. It just split up the crotch like like you'd taken sewing scissors and just went snip a clean straight line along the fold. Just from taking it out, looking at it, and trying to fold it back and put it back in. That's how brittle some of these old costumes are. Just taking it out to look at it, you're liable to damage it. So that experience taught me to just appreciate them in the box and to not try to take it out and unfold it. Once in a while I'll take a costume out, but generally I just look at it to make sure it's all there and it is what I think it is. Make sure no one switched the costume or if there's any monkey business going on. But as long as it's all seems to be okay, I just leave it in the box. And it's really a shame in this case because you can see that's a wonderful condition box. Look at that. I mean, everything, the cellophane, everything about it is just lovely. The mask is beautiful, and the costume was really nice until I cracked it. So it really upset me that that happened with this particular costume, especially since that's one of my favorite ones. So that was unhappy, and that's the reason why I don't take these things out. I look at them in the box. I might take the mask out, but that's it. And once you take the costume out and unfold it, you can never get it back in again the same way. Those costumes are factory folded, just flat, and the masks are snug in there, and there's just enough space for it all to fit. And if you take the mask out and you unfold the costume and think you can just fold it back and put it all back together, the lid on those boxes will raise up a half inch or an inch above what it was before you messed with it. You can never get those back in flat again. They just won't work. This is a later box. I think this is 70s. Well, I'm pretty sure this is 70s. I have a date on it. But take it from me. This is a 1970s costume. This is just simply called Monster, but it's clearly a knockoff of the creature from the Black Lagoon. And the artwork on the costume itself does look like the creature from the Black Lagoon with this head substituted. This head looks more like something from a 70s drive-in movie like Slithis, but this predates Slithis, so it's not a Slithis costume. Although, if any company were going to make a Slithis costume, it would be Collegeville, but they didn't. That's not what this is. It's basically their answer to the creature from the Black Lagoon, their unlicensed creature costume. It doesn't look all that much like the creature. Kind of reminds me of Fluke Man from the Ep5. I'll give you just a little taste of what the costume looks like. And if you see the whole thing, he is in a creature from the Black Lagoon kind of a pose. It's obviously meant to suggest the creature from the Black Lagoon. One end of his rubber band is attached and the other end is not. It's not because anything was messed with, it's just over time it just snaps. So one more look at this critter. And then I want to show you why this particular costume is kind of special. Now that looks like this costume. It appears that this costume is my childhood costume. It is not. This is not my childhood costume, despite appearances. Some other kid named Raymond had this costume. And I didn't know that when I bought this. I bought this on eBay years and years and years ago. And then I got it, and it had that name on it. And I said, this is meant to be from one Raymond to another. Some little Raymond years ago, probably about the same age as me. If this Raymond was a child in the 1970s, well, I was also a child in the 1970s, so he was a contemporary of mine. And he would walk the streets one Halloween wearing that. And now he has no more use for it, so he's passed it on to me. He doesn't know that's what's happened, but that's what's happened. I love the 70s colors on this box. So that costume is special, even though it's not my childhood costume. It feels like it is. It feels like it's a childhood relic, maybe from another timeline, perhaps a better timeline. I don't know where it happened, but somewhere in my timeline, something went wrong. I stepped on the butterfly. I did something I should not have done, and things did not go the way they were supposed to go. But maybe that other Raymond, maybe things went better for him. He did not step on the butterfly. Okay, here's a witch. Pretty serious looking witch. I don't see a date. Here's this witch. And I just picked her because I thought she's a classic witchy witch. Very angry and scary. A lot of these Collegeville witches do not look that scary. They're kind of comical. As I was looking through these, picking the ones I was going to show, a lot of the witches look kind of silly. But not that one. That's a formidable witch. There's Billy, my black cat Billy. He was just here a second ago. He was walking around below the camera. I thought he might jump up, but he didn't. So that's a cool looking witch. I like that witch. It's a scary witch. It's not a silly witch. Yeah, there's not a lot to see underneath her. You see, even just taking her out, just like what I just did, it's hard to get her back in because now her hat is poking against the top of the box. I don't know. There. There's the witch. It's a medium size medium. I remember going to the store. Every Halloween to shop for my Halloween costume. Although I tended to prefer like Imagineering makeup or a Topstone rubber mask or something different, but I did wear my fair share of costumes like these. And sometimes I'd have more than one costume. I'd have the costume for the school Halloween party, and then I'd have another costume for trick-or-treating. And I remember these masks, these boxes just all piled up on the shelves, and you had to look at the bottom like this to see what you were getting, because you couldn't see all of them. They were just stacked up, one on top of the other. This is the hairy monster. He's a size large. Halloween costume with wig and mask. Mask with hair. Collegeville Flag and Manufacturing Company, Collegeville, Pennsylvania. There's the hairy monster. I don't know if he's supposed to be like a Bigfoot or something else. But he's the hairy monster. And I liked this one because he's got really luxurious black hair. I say luxurious. It's just that same El Cheapo black hair, like pull apart hair. It's like kind of like a cotton candy consistency. But I like that. So maybe my idea of luxury is a little different from other people's idea. This is a luxury. It's a luxury to own something like this. So yes, his hair is luxurious. Ah! Well, since he's out, might as well. Might as well. There he is. Okay, I guess you want it out of there, huh? The costume is just basically like an ape. Oh yeah, so it's like a King Kong kind of an ape. You can see, there you go. Put his fist up. I thought it might be like a Bigfoot, but it's not. Okay. And there's his beautiful hair. Okay. Get back in there now. See, already he's not pushing in there as flat as he was before. Okay. He's sticking out a little bit now. He's pushing on the cellophane. That's so many of these things, these box Halloween costumes, the cellophane is cracked, and I have several that have just the cellophane's a mess. It's because they push on it. They don't fit very well in the box. It's so tight. Okay. Now let's try him. He is just, he's just a monster, right? Yeah. Velvet touch decorations. There he is. And he's in that 64 catalog, so I know he's old. I don't know if this particular example is that old, but the character, the style, dates back at least that long ago, 1964. But, you know, I'm sure they kept making a lot of these styles years and years and years and years and years. That is, yeah, it's a pumpkin outline, but this color doesn't look like pumpkin orange to me. It's more red. But I kind of like that. That's part of the Collegeville style, these sort of burnt colors. And he has these ventilation holes in his cheeks, and that's not something a child or a parent did to customize it. That's the way this mask is made. Even in the catalog, it shows those holes. I guess their attempt to make it even more ventilated. Okay, these are interesting. This is an adult costume, and it's in a much bigger box, much thicker. This is a good old classic devil. And the interesting thing about this devil is when you see him, the influence is going to be clear. If you know anything about Topstones or the Keith Ward characters from Topstone, it's pretty obvious where they got this inspiration. the ridges, the pointy cheeks, the cowlick, just everything. It's the facial hair and the way that looks, the angles. That's obviously inspired by the Topstone Devil. And it's got a much bigger costume. It's for an adult size. And I'm not taking that out. And it's amazing too, with these horns and everything, that cellophane isn't ripped apart. And as soon as I say that, it'll just pop apart right now in front of you. But at least as of this moment, it's intact. And here's what most of the Collegeville witches look more like this one. This is also an adult costume, and it's a witch, and it's a more typical cartoony witch. That's why I wanted to show you that other one, because it was so scary and serious looking, and most of them are not like that. This thing, I am sure this has never been out of this box. That's never been out. And look how the hair is bent over like that. If someone opened this up and used it and put it back in the box, they wouldn't leave it like that. Look how flat it is. That's never been out of the box. Look how perfect the hair is. It's untouched. And I'm not going to tuck that hair back in either. I'm going to leave it like it is. And I can understand, since it's an adult, both of these adult costumes are mint condition. I can understand they're for adults. They probably were not used. They probably were not sold. I bet they didn't sell well. Costumes like this for adults, they probably didn't even sell. It's probably old store stock that never sold. Okay, let's go to you. Oh, here's a good one. This is the Body Snatcher. Now his cellophane is kind of messed up. Now, this is the first one that really had torn up cellophane. I think everyone we've looked at so far had pretty good cellophane. That's the Body Snatcher. And this is typical of the kind of weird characters Collegeville would make, and you didn't see this kind of stuff from Ben Cooper. Collegeville was more lurid than Ben Cooper, and a little more imaginative. Ben Cooper was more Norman Rockwell, traditional, all-American Halloween characters. Collegeville was more psychotic. I mean, look at that psycho thing. There was a bit of danger about Collegeville costumes. They were a little bit dangerous. Hey, that's a song lyric. He is cool. I don't know if this translates on camera, but the colors and the texture, it just looks really neat. That hat. There's a cat coming. Hey Billy, you haven't visited us all season. What's up with that? You're not gonna come up, Billy? I guess he's not going to come up. Okay. I tried to get Billy up here, but he's lying there. He's not going to come up. Well, we're almost done here. This is Ghastly Gertie, and she's another one of the more sought-after costumes. Ghastly Gertie. And she's a favorite of Collegeville collectors. She can get up there in price. She is weird. She's bizarre. She's a medium. Now, her mask has got some issues, and it's not because it's been used and abused, it's just old and getting brittle. Ooh, it's got a lot of cracks. I don't know if you can see, but she's got all kinds of cracks all around the edges. There's a Ghastly Gertie. And inside it looks like she's got she's all marked up inside, but that's actually printed at the factory. That's just letting you know that it glows. That's green text printed at the factory, letting you know that the mask glows. Glows in the dark. But she's got cracks going this way and this way, so eventually they're just going to meet and her chin's going to fall off. And it's because, I think, just because it rests on the bottom of the box. If I stored it upright, her chin's resting on the bottom here, so I need to not store it that way. Can we see a little bit of Ghastly Gertie's costume? Look at that. That's what it looks like. Can you imagine wearing that? A little kid wearing that. Look at that. And it glows in the dark. Look at that. That's Ghastly Gertie. She's hideous. She's scary. That's the thing about some of these Collegeville costumes. They're scary. I wonder if there's maybe some kind of archival tape. I've tried that before. It's not sticky enough. Something I could do. She's got cracks up here. Yeah, I'm afraid to even mess with that. This vacuum form plastic, once it starts to go, there's just no recourse. There's nothing you can do. A rubber mask, you can patch it up. You can foam it. You can do some things to try to save it. But these plastic masks, once they start to crack up, there's nothing you can do. Well, maybe I need to upgrade her one of these days. I mean, the box is beautiful. I'm not even sure if she's used. I mean, I don't think just because of the cracks, I mean, she's used. I think it's just from age, just being in the box. Well, I say the box is nice, but there's a split right there at that corner. Unfortunately, trying to upgrade her would cost a lot of money, unless I just lucked out. She's one of the more expensive ones. Alright, I guess we've already reached the end here. This is the last one I have. Okay. Here is The Devil's Bride. And the reason I wanted to show you this one was because, like that Frankenstein, this is this is probably the second most iconic Collegeville mask. Like that devil, it looks like it's sort of, maybe kind of sort of inspired by Topstone, the female vampire. And I've got 3 boxed versions of this mask, all different names, different. This is Devil's Bride, but other ones have different names, including just vampire. And really, that's what she is. She's a vampire. She's a vampira, Morticia Addams kind of archetype. You know, that was popular at the time. This is an early one that was in that early catalog, and it was in that 70s catalog. This is one they kept making. I've got pretty late era versions of this mask. In fact, I think I have 4 box versions of this mask from 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, early 80s. This was a one they kept making again and again. Now you can tell this one's been used. You can see from the lips it's got some wear. And why does it have those silver dots? Those are supposed to be reflective. These little dots are supposed to be like a safety feature. Not every version of this mask has these dots. And I do have other versions that do not have the dots. I'm wondering, see, I associate safety stuff like that with the 80s. But this doesn't look like an 80s box. Maybe it is, though. Maybe it is. But the 80s, though, that's the era when Halloween masks in general became very safety conscious. Well, it looks like her band was tied at some point. Had a little piece of rubber in there, barely holding together. I was wondering if I could show you any of this costume, but nah, not really. It's so folded up, I'd have to take it all apart to show you. Well, one last look at her. There we go. And she's got some weird little foam something. This is foam. And it's on both ends of her band. So it looks like it was supposed to be there. Maybe when it was new, it was probably like a nice looking ball and it's deteriorated like that. Maybe that was, I don't know why. I've never seen another mask of foam at the ends of the rubber band like that. So this vampire girl, female vampire, obviously inspired by the Topstone female vampire, it kept showing up in different assortments over the years with different names, but this was a perennial bestseller for Collegeville. This and that Frankenstein were both staples of the Collegeville costume lineup. Well, that's all the ones I picked out to show you. We made it through. Okay. I guess there's nothing much to say. I really want, oh, there's not, Billy's gone to sleep. Oh, look at him. I wish you could see him. I tried to get him up here, but he wouldn't. I mean, I'm going to cut all that out, but there's about 5 minutes of me trying to coax him to come up here that you won't see because I'll cut it out. And finally I had to give up. Like, okay, he's not coming up here. He's sleeping. Oh, there he is right there. He's so cute. Yeah. But you can't see him. Oh, he's glaring at me like, stop talking about me. Okay. One day, Billy will come back up here and he'll say hello to everyone. That concludes, I think. See, I'm a voice from the future. I might change my mind in the days ahead. But as of right now, I think, that concludes our Halloween episodes. My plan is to upload this on Halloween morning. If I stick to that plan, then this is your Halloween treat. I don't know how much of a treat it is. Maybe it's a trick instead of a treat, but I hope you enjoyed it. and you can watch it Halloween in the daytime. I always take Halloween off. I think if you're a good monster kid or a Halloweeny person, you take Halloween off if you can. And I've taken Halloween off of work for the last 20 years. If you can get off Halloween, do it. If you're a monster horror person, take that day off. It just feels a lot better. It's depressing to have to work on Halloween. So I'm scheduled to be off that day. So if you're off, you can watch this episode in the daytime, or you can wait till the trick-or-treaters are done and then watch it at night. And I hope this enhances your Halloween experience. So happy Halloween. Have a safe, happy, spooky Halloween. Until next time, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.